Hey there, friends. So, welcome to a little exploration of Claude Cowork and a getting started guide. So, I've been using Cowork now for about 3 weeks. So, the TLDR is on this. I'm pretty impressed. There's some great stuff here. I think there's a great view into the future of how we will continue to work with LLMs like this and other AI tools. For those of you who've never used Claude before, this is the Claude app on my Mac. You get 3 different ways of working with Claude. So chat, which you'll be familiar with, which is everyday kind of basic LLM use. We've got Cowork, which is really being positioned as for business. So if you're in a big enterprise, if you have a small business like mine, it is a way for you to work with AI in a space where you can give it more context and also work across files on your device. And then code is for people who are way more advanced than me. You don't need to be an engineer, but I'm not going to talk about code today because there's loads of videos out there. I'm not going to talk about chat because there's loads of videos out there as well. This is really just exploring Cowork and getting started with it. So basically, Cowork was built off of Claude Code here, which has been pretty popular the last 6 months. It's kind of a misleading name because actually it's not just for engineers. It can do a lot more. And that's why Cowork exists, because it's a bit of a branding exercise to help people start to make the most out of Claude. I should say, in order to access all of this, you need to have a pro plan. So a pro plan at the minimum is $20 a month, and it gives you access to all of the models that you can see on my screen here. So the fast one, the one in the middle, and of course the best one here in Opus. And I've always got extended thinking on at all times. And there's a bunch of stuff that you can do. So I'm just going to show you some of the features that are here. What I'm not going to do is typical things that you see online about use this to replace you in this, or automate this with Claude, or 10 earth-shattering use cases, or whatever rubbish comes out nowadays. This is really just taking you through what is possible. So first things first, like it says on the tin, you can actually choose to give Claude access to a folder. Do that based on your own privacy and security risk level. So I can click working folder here and I get all of the options for different folders that sit on my device, and I can give it access to those should I wish to. I'm also able to chuck in any projects that I've already got live, connectors, which we'll get to in a minute, plugins as well, and the usual files and folders. So what I am going to show you is some of the unique things that are available here in Claude. So one thing I will point out is I like that it says new task and not new chat, because for me, that's really kind of looking towards, hey, this is more for a work perspective. You can schedule tasks. So if you want to, I can come in here and I can schedule tasks to happen as long as my device is open and Claude is open. I can do that for research, for analysis, for maybe builder presentations, for looking at different types of data should I wish to. I get this section here full of loads of different ideas that I can use Claude Code for, which I think is really beneficial. And I think is something that I do personally find missing from tools like ChatGPT and Gemini. And you can see all the ways here that they're kind of saying Claude Code can help you do stuff, which is great. Now, customize is one of the main things I want to show you, because we're able to do a number of things with Claude, which give you a bit of a unique advantage. So first things first, we can connect it to our existing tools. And there is a huge list of tools that we can connect into. Again, be aware of your own security and privacy risk awareness, or risk aversion, and what you want to give access to. But you've got loads of options here to connect into different tools that you're already using, and let Claude work with those tools on all the different tasks that you want. So fundamentally, what we're saying here is that you've got a really simple way to delve into that world of agentic AI and give Claude the capability to run with some of this stuff should you wish to. What you're also able to do, if you want to, is give Claude access to a Chromium browser. So obviously Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, any Chromium based browser out there, you give access to Claude to that. It will be able to use that browser after you give instructions and go and do tasks for you in that browser. I haven't done that personally. I'm not comfortable with that at the moment in time, in terms of having a lot of information, safe passwords, financial details, and all of that. It's not something that I have done, but again, your risk tolerance there. Like I say, as you can see, there's loads of stuff that we can give access to, from pretty basic to a lot more high level. So connectors are really useful. Yes, other tools have them, but I've never seen as many in one place here. And then we have plugins. So this took me a little while to get my head around, but connectors is basically connected into software and apps that you've already got. Plugins is basically as it says here. So tasks with ready to use workflows that you can put in. And as you can see, a lot of this is all based around business. So you can see I've got one installed here called Common Room, which is basically a go-to-market co-pilot that helps with lots of different stuff in the marketing perspective. But you can see loads of different things here. And there is a HR one here, so I could go in and then if I install this into my Claude instance, basically what this has been trained to do is help me to do these tasks based on the context for my organization. So that could be helpful if you wish to use it for this type of stuff. And as I say, there's absolutely loads of things here. Like there's one for finance, which I probably will be using at some point as a solo business owner, but it's just to make you where you've got these plugins. You can also upload your own plugins if you want to, and there'll be more coming out. There's obviously a marketplace as well, but these are just kind of like little packages which have got all these pre-created workflows where you don't have to go off and do that if you don't want to, or if you don't understand how to do that. So again, making it really easy for you to kind of pick up, plug in and play. And I think one of the biggest things here is this option for creating new skills. So imagine this as being a bit similar to, in some ways, but a bit more advanced with custom GPTs and gems on Gemini. So custom GPTs, a lot of people use that for repeatable processes to give ChatGPT a set of instructions to say, hey, I want to do this task. This is how I want to do this task. This is what good looks like. And when I give you these inputs, go off and do that task. Now, that generally can work pretty well. And there's mixed results with that from time to time, depending upon how well you actually build those GPTs. Now, skills is kind of like that. And I'm going to kind of bring you through a few of these here. So you can create these skills with Claude. You can create them separately in a markdown file and load them up. What you don't need to do at ChatGPT is they're not separate instances. So there's not a separate GPT that you need to go to and actually just use that GPT. The kind of drawback of that is that you can't share that GPT. Well, you can share a GPT with other people. You can't really do that here. You can share this skill and they just upload it to their own instance of Claude if they wish to, but there's no way for you to see kind of how people are using that there. So in terms of skills themselves, you can see there's some example skills here already. So Claude itself actually has built this skill creator, which is a step-by-step in how can you build a good skill to work with Claude. Very, very descriptive, incredibly helpful. As you can see here, we are not going to go through all of that. I'm going to show you two that I have already created and why. So one is I have a newsletter editor. So if you don't know, I write a newsletter called Steal These Thoughts. And of course, what I do is once I've written, usually the first or second draft is I'll throw it into Claude just to help me look through very basic things. So there is stuff like proofreading, there is comparing it to previous editions that I've done to make sure I'm not repeating anything, to look at the flow and the structure. And this skill itself has access to all of the writing that I've basically done in the last 2 years specifically. I didn't give it everything from the last 15 years because my writing is really changed over that time. But the last 2 years, I have kind of given it a lot of that context to say, okay, well, what do I need to know about how I write and what I do? And it's a bit of a style Bible. So you can see all of this here. You can see there is a skill in Markdown, which I have created and uploaded here. And then there's loads of references. So references are the files that I've given. And I've got another one here, YouTube description. So when I'm creating YouTube videos, what I have done is basically created this skill to help me create the packaging around YouTube videos. So that is for thumbnails, that is for titles, and that is for descriptions as well. Because it is a pretty repeatable process. It doesn't really change in terms of the structure and the style. So it's really easy for me to create a skill. And I can call upon that skill in a conversation itself. I don't have to go to a separate area. And like I said, I think what's really interesting about these skills is you can do so much with them. If you spend the time to actually sit down with something like a skill creator here, and create something meaningful. And it can be really helpful. So let's just do an example of that now to see this in action. So if I go here, I can either write skill instructions, and I'll get this pop up here, which is pretty rigid. I could upload my own. So if I wanted to do that, I could open a Google Doc. I could basically write down everything that I want this skill to do, everything that Claude needs to know, and then I could download that from Google Docs in a markdown file and then upload that to Claude. That might be a bit advanced some people, so I'll show you how to create a skill with Claude. So once we do that, we get this menu here that basically says, let's create a skill together using the skill creator. First, ask me what the skill should do. So I'm going to go here and say, let's just mess around. So I want to build a skill to create engaging workshop titles. Would also help if I could spell workshop, but there you go. So let's hit let's go and see what's going on. And you can see at the right hand side of my screen here, you've got this progress bar to see what's going on. You've got a working folder, which gives you all of the things we're going to work upon here. And then the context at the moment, which is working with the skill creator. And then you can see how Claude's working. So it's running the skill, it's seeing what I want to do. And now we're going to go through this whole process of, let's build a workshop title skill together. And I get a bunch of options here. And this is what I like as well. It's really kind of hand-holding you and guiding you through all of this process. So you can see what kind of workshops are these titles for. So I'm going to say L&D workshops that I deliver. What inputs would you typically give Claude for this? I'm going to say the topic and the audience. I want 3 to 5 title options. And I want them to be a mix of all of these styles. And you can see that takes that away and it will go off and start to build that skill for us. And we'll keep optimizing. So you can see here, should the skill also have a short subtitle? Why not? I like that suggestion. Avoid jargon and clickbait. So I think that's really smart because it's going through, it's checking its thinking, it's coming back and looking at, based on the context it already knows about me, what may be some of the things that I need to know. And now you can see here, it's gone great. Okay, it knows what it's working with. It's going off to set up that list and draft that skill. And again, the right hand side here now, you can see what's going on. So it's drafting this skill for us. It's going to do a test. It's going to run some more cases. It's going to create this for us. And then it's going to come back to me and say, hey, here's what we've done so far. Let's get some feedback. If it looks good, then we'll package that final skill together. And then if I'm happy with that, I can add that skill into my Claude instance, and I can also share that skill with other people as well. And it's really easy for me to call upon it. And Claude will recognize what I'm doing. So if I come back to Claude and I say, hey, I'm working or crafting this workshop and I need some help with a title, it will instantly recognize what I want to do based on the skill which is already in my library. So we can see here, draft is now written. Now put together some test prompts. So basically this is saying what I would ask Claude if I came back. I'm going to say, great, these look good. Let's run them. So every time I come back and say something or so say type something like this, then it will know what I am looking to achieve. So we've done 3 of our steps already, and we're going to go to step 4 here. And it's going to run 6 test cases for us, which is cool. 3 with the skill and 3 without. Now, what I like about this is actually showing the power of skills. So it's given us a comparison to be like, if you were to do this task without the skill you've created, here is the output versus what it looks like with the skill itself. Okay, I paused the video there because it's taken some time to create the skill, but now we're back. So what I want to show you here are these components. I think it's really interesting because you get insight into actually what is Claude doing behind the scenes here. So we had this element where it was going to run test cases on this skill. So what it did was say, I'm going to do 6 runs, 3 with the skill, 3 without the skill in parallel. It completed that. And then it says, look, let me save time in data, draft assertions, grade the outputs, and get the review ready for me. So 6 outputs. And then what it says there, pretty smart in my opinion, there's clear differences already visible. The skill guide outputs that we've created of Claude are more focused. So 3 to 5 options, consistent format, punchy titles, while the baselines without the skill are bloated. So there's 8 to 16 options, really verbose. Now it's saying, let me write assertions, grade everything, and build that for the viewer. So we go through, it grades all 6 outputs, and it's got a graded script so I can check that. Skill outputs, it says 100% pass rate across all 3 tests. and this is the baseline, etc., etc. Now we get to this point here, and it says, okay, here's where we're at. I've opened the results viewer for you, so I can visit the review, and it goes on the side of my screen here. And then basically what it says to me is, hey, I've got two tabs. I've got the output tabs and the benchmark tab. So a quick summary of what all of these show. Again, really smart and explaining to me what I see, because if I didn't know what the hell was going on, I wouldn't be getting far. So it's saying with the skill, what's happening, without the skill. And it's saying the skill was actually faster. Great. But the numbers don't catch everything. I like that as well. And then it says, hey, I'd like your take on the quality of the titles. Are these the kind of thing you'd use too? Are they too clever? They're not L&D enough. Okay, that's pretty good, right? And I can see all the outputs here. I can see the benchmark. And if I want to go through all of that, I can. But we'll close this, and then we'll basically say, okay, this looks all good. So we're happy. It's going to package up that skill for us, and then I can add that into my skills database. And that's how we create a skill. The skill's been created. I can copy it to my skills, or I can leave it there. So in terms of a skill perspective, that is what we've got. And I think that is pretty impressive. So if we just think about that, folks, so Claude Cowork, it has the ability to work on your device, access your folders, so you can give it context specifically on the many different bits of work that you're doing. You are able to connect it in multiple types of services should you wish to. You can use it as an agent and let it use your Chromium browser to do tasks for you. You can schedule tasks. You can build these skills. You can share these skills. You just get the markdown file, share it with other people. Really easy to do. Like I said, this is really just an exploratory video looking at getting you started, understanding what it is. If you do want to see another video with some more use cases or how I'm using Cowork, let me know wherever you are viewing this video. Just drop a comment. And as always, I will speak to you in the next one.